On today's episode, we're going to be talking about ancient war stories, discriminations, and assassins. My name is Imani. I'm an artist and photographer of realistic portraits and sceneries, and also a comic creator myself. Here to give you a behind-the-scenes look into the creative process of art and comics, with tips, techniques, and more, including any webcomic reviews of stories that you probably never heard of. Without further ado, let's get it.
Watch this.
I got an exclusive look at the first issue of a 34-page epic fantasy indie comic created by Jeffrey Johnson. He's the writer and crafted the world and story on his own. I also interviewed Jeffrey for you to have an insight into his story. Along with the interview, I'm going to give you my first impression spoiler-free review. Ennead, the Rule of Nine, is an epic fantasy re-envisioned. Explore Amashik through the eyes of a burgeoning medieval bounty hunter, a queen born to lead but raised to abdicate her power, and a king deep in the throes of a decades-long war. Before I read the story, I wanted to know what an Ennead was, so I did a quick Google search and here's what it says. According to Wikipedia, the Ennead, or Great Ennead, was a group of 9 deities in Egyptian mythology. The author tells the story from the perspective of 3 different classes of characters living under the same rule. It appears that everyone that lives under Ennead has a different political view as well. What makes this comic so profound is the writing, including the characters' dialogue. The writing tone shows off a strong delivery with no fillers and movie-like conversations. For example, you can hear the king's voice echoing as he rages through war. The world building is very effective. Jeffrey, the author, does a great job making you feel like you are there with the peasants, the kings and queens, and the speech styles of the people in the world. The art and character designs are unique, and the art style is monochrome, rough and gritty. This fits well with the war-themed story with lots of realistic detail in the panels. The possibilities are endless in this world. I'm curious to see what will happen if these characters were to meet up and interact. Keep up with sneak peeks and more on his Instagram page, and make sure to read the first issue for yourself. So I got a chance to contact the creator and ask Jeffrey just a little bit more about what his story was about and give us fans an insight into Ennead, the Rule of Nine. It's a graphic novel with a little of the Stormlight's Archives world building, a touch of George Martin, the guy who wrote Games of Thrones, penchant for describing feast and killing characters, that's filled with psionic elves that would give Stranger Things 11 a run for her money. A webcomic I feel is about discrimination, hate crimes, and friendship. Tenacity will get you hooked with great pacing, fun characters, and stunning artwork. Tenacity is an action sci-fi webtoon created by Paige Critlow. I finally got a chance to read and write a spoiler-free review of her series. I read the first 2 completed chapters and the first 2 episodes of chapter 3. Along with the review, I also had the opportunity to interview the creator Paige Critlow about her series. To stop an incoming threat, mankind created several new subspecies of humans, some even with supernatural abilities. Decades after this threat was stopped, Kinley and her friends must find ways to navigate and survive a society that now regrets their existence. Trouble begins when one of their own gets caught up in a situation bigger than any issue they've ever faced. Tenacity has themes of discrimination, friendship, along with a slice-of-life element that helps you connect with the characters. The pacing will get you hooked because the scenes in the opening chapter are real tense, gradually keeping you hyped, wanting to read more. Each episode gives you just enough panels. It isn't too long or too short. I'd say it's worth binge reading. At least that's what I did. The world building is a modern futuristic Nothing too out of the ordinary except for a bounty drop-off that resembles an ATM machine. The everyday life of mutants living among us, wearing street clothes, on their smartphones, some trying to hide their horns and tails, it's pretty believable. The plot, I believe, comes later and I don't want to spoil anything significant, so I'll just refer back to the theme, which is obviously about these creatures who aren't welcome into society. When it comes to originality, this story has to do with the government creating a group of mutants like X-Men, for example. Let me know in the comments if you know of any more series that have similarities to this. If you were curious, I actually reviewed 2 webcomics already about Teen Mutants. You can check those out after you watch this video. Kinley is the main protagonist of Tenacity, and yes, she's a mutant, but she acts like a normal teenager. She is hasty and irresponsible, unlike her older brother Uri. He has my favorite character archetype, the protective older brother. By chapter 2, we are getting to know the bond these characters have with each other, and the conversations between them are really natural. Willow, the youngest one of the group, is the most precious. The characters are very relatable, even when it comes to everyday things like eating delicious food, doing homework, babysitting, or just chilling together at home. That kind of brings that slice of life element that I was talking about. Each panel is wonderfully consistent, overly done in a good way, almost like watching an animation because of the use of small panels, same scene but in different camera angles. There is a lot of detail in each panel. The city is brought to life with pedestrians, little details like household items, trash in the alleyways, makes the environment realistic. Little words need to be used to have intensity in the scenes. Motion blur and action lines give the scene speed and movement. The tone can switch up from heartwarming moments to action-packed as menacing looking dogs or innocent characters looking like cinnamon rolls. Yes, I'm talking about you, Willow. The line work, color, and shading is top tier. I asked Paige Critlow, is there anything that you want your readers to know? And she told me this. My goal is to give my readers the best experience I can. I'm hoping to make you feel, laugh, and think the same way that the animation/movies I grew up on did for me. The best thing in life I can ask for is to tell this story I love and to have it be enjoyed by people. This story means a lot to me, so it always makes my day to see someone get invested in the story and enjoy reading it. Make sure to check out the full interview with Paige Critlow about Tenacity on my webcomic review blog, MADDINDIES. The link is in the description. Before we get to the final comic review of today, shout out to my Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. Your support, big or small, is very much appreciated. And to all my viewers watching, if you want a shout out in my future videos, join my $1 a month tier on patreon.com/madmoneyart. Okay, back to the webcomic showcase. If you'd watch a Legend of Zelda anime, then Lycoris Rising is for you. It's a fantasy action webcomic created by Daphne Panna. On my busy schedule, I read the prologue and beginning of chapter 1. I also interviewed the creator for a behind the scenes experience. Get ready to check out my spoiler-free first impression review of Lycoris Rising. King, assassin, spy, informant. The lives of these 4 people are tied not to only each other, but to the fate of a country. Giving their skill sets, preventing the collapse of a nation isn't an unreasonable task. The catch? They have conflicting agendas and are on opposing sides. Beautiful and emotional, Daphne Panna captured the atmosphere with breathtaking visuals. It has a strong opening, great artwork, and animation. Yes, animation. The cast of characters all have a gorgeous design that fits the time they're living in. It's listed as an action fantasy webcomic, but it also has drama, suspense, thriller, and a little romance. Each panel doesn't miss out on important details. The pacing with the action scenes and dialogue complement each other. It's like a cutscene from a video game in story mode. I was easily following what was going on, like for instance, when an arrow was shot but shattered against armor. King Lucio Margrave is the main character and has some type of foresight ability, where he, unfortunately, keeps seeing tragedies. I was only able to read the prologue, but there is a whole story. As of right now, there are 3 chapters including the prologue. Bloody War and Beautiful Cherry Blossoms. If that's your type of thing, go check out Lycoris Rising. So I asked Daphne Panda how long has she been creating comic books, and this is what she told me. Lycoris Rising is my first comic, and I've been drawing it for about a year and a half now. The story, on the other hand, I've had in mind for over a decade. It started out as a Zelda fanfic, and after several rewrites turned into what it is today. I asked Daphne Panda, what do you have to say about a certain character from your series? This is what she told me. Lucio might seem like an angsty little sick boy, but don't underestimate him. A small glimpse of his badassness is coming up soon. Make sure to check out the full interview with Daphne Panda about her webcomic, Lycoris Rising, on my webcomic review blog, MADDINDIES. The link is in the description. And there you have it, folks. That's it for today's webcomic showcase. Let me know what comic you're reading first and why. Also, make sure to support these creators by following them across social media and following their webcomic. Stay updated on what comics I'm reading at MADDINDIES on Instagram and Facebook. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, sketch that subscribe button, share it with your friends, but most importantly, ring that bell or else you won't be able to get notified when I make art and comic tips or videos like this. Follow me at MattMightyArt across social media and watch my latest video right here.